10 milliwatts per kilo, but 1 milliwatt per kilo, and even 0.1 milliwatt per kilo are those energies that open the blood-brain barrier most efficiently.
Shut him up. We have a lot invested in this ride. Shut him up!
Many ask, however, if cell phones are damaging the blood-brain barrier, why haven't we seen a rise in brain tumors or brain cancer?
Since 1980s, when cell phones started to come out, to today, there's no change in the incidence of brain cancer in the United States, in Australia, in Europe. All of them, there were studies done showing no real difference.
This fails to consider latency, which is the amount of time that elapses between initial exposure and the diagnosis of cancer.
In studies of the Hiroshima bombing, we know that brain cancer did not show up at all as increased until 40 years after that bombing occurred.
If there was a real hazard out there, but it could be another 15 years before we see it, think about the billions of people who are being exposed to cell phone RF on a regular basis. We can't undo that exposure.
But even if one completely dismisses the reality of latency, evidence shows that a particular kind of tumor has risen substantially, but the rise is difficult to find given the straight line in the mean average. Rates of glioblastoma, otherwise called glioma, or GBM, are rising, with the placement of the tumor occurring in the temporal and frontal lobes. In one study, titled Brain Tumors, Rise in Glioblastoma, authors stated in the abstract that this rise is mostly hidden in the overall data by a reduced incidence of lower-grade tumors. The World Health Organization says there are some indications of an increased risk of glioma for those who reported the highest 10% of cumulative hours of cell phone use.
The reality is there's a significant increase in glioblastomas. Unfortunately, they're very, very deadly.
I have listed peer-reviewed studies establishing the connection between non-thermal radiofrequency radiation from cell phones and brain cancer known as glioblastoma.
The WHO has classified EMF as possibly carcinogenic to humans, Group 2B, a category used when a causal association is considered credible. A study in Sweden, published by Environmental Research and Public Health, reported that brain tumors increased from 2007 to 2015, saying the use of wireless phones should be considered in relation to the change of incidence rates. According to the Journal of Environmental Health, long-term mobile phone use shows an almost doubling of the risk of head tumors. And the Journal of Environmental Research states that long-term use of mobile phones shows a decreased survival of glioma patients, claiming that RF exposure should be regarded as a human carcinogen.
Now watch what happens when I move away. 7, under 10. So just by moving the distance 2 or 3 feet, you're reducing the radiation by 90%.
One might be thinking, however, that these studies are correlation-causation fallacies. Just because there's a rise in glioblastomas doesn't mean it's because of our cell phones. But in 2016, findings from a massive $30 million study by the National Toxicology Program were made public.
A major U.S. government study on rats finds a link between cell phones and cancer.
Very first government study linking the radiation from cell phones to cancer.
2-decade, $30 million federal study out today found there is some evidence of a link between cell phone radiation and brain cancer.
The study was led by Dr. David McCormick at the Illinois Institute of Technology, where they exposed rats to the same radiation emitted from cell phones